They told us it was just a test mission, a routine 3-month run past Jupiter to check deep space communication arrays. At the time, I believed them. But when we returned, Earth was silent. No radio chatter, no city lights, just a dead blue marble turning in the void. As we closed in, I saw massive crystalline structures covering every continent and heard my daughter's voice calling from the surface in perfect mathematical harmonics no human throat could produce. If everyone on Earth was gone, then who or what was using my family's voices to lure us back to a planet now pulsing with alien geometry? I didn't know it then, but the answer would begin the day Director Harrison called me into his office. "Captain Chen, you're being handed the easiest mission in NASA history," he says, sliding a metal briefcase across his desk, but something in his eyes doesn't match the casual words coming out of his mouth. I'm sitting in his office on the 40th floor of the Johnson Space Center, watching rain streak down windows that show the Houston skyline stretching toward a gray horizon. The taste of stale coffee coats my tongue as I flip through mission documents that describe what should be the most boring 3 months of my career. Fly to Jupiter, test some new communication equipment, come home to a hero's parade. Why me? I ask, studying the crew roster. Rodriguez has more deep space experience. Kowalski knows the quantum systems better than anyone. We're all backup pilots. Why not give this to the A-team? Harrison leans back in his leather chair, his fingers drumming against the desk in a rhythm that doesn't quite match the rain outside. Sometimes the best person for a job is someone who won't ask too many questions once they're up there, but I'm already asking questions. The mission timeline shows a 30-day communication blackout period, MNN. No contact with Earth while we test the new quantum entanglement systems. The crew selection bypassed 12 more experienced astronauts. Most strange of all, our families aren't invited to the usual pre-mission briefings. The Endeavour is our newest deep space vessel, Harrison continues, opening the briefcase to reveal computer chips that glow with soft blue light. These quantum communicators will let us talk to Mars colonies in real time once we establish the relay network. Your job is to fly them past Jupiter's orbit and make sure they work. I pick up one of the chips, surprised by how warm it feels against my palm. And the communication blackout? Standard procedure when testing new systems. We don't want interference from Earth-based signals while you're calibrating the equipment. Harrison's smile doesn't reach his eyes. 3 months of peace and quiet. Most astronauts would kill for an assignment like this. Through his office window, I watch storm clouds gathering over the city, their shapes too perfect to be natural. Lightning flickers inside them in patterns that almost look like symbols, like some kind of message being written across the sky in electricity and rain. "There's something else," Harrison says, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The quantum chips may pick up signals from unusual sources, deep space phenomena we don't fully understand yet. If that happens, don't try to respond. Just record everything and bring it back to us." My coffee cup rattles against the desk as thunder shakes the building. What kind of unusual sources? The kind that might be trying to talk to us. Harrison closes the briefcase with a metallic snap that sounds too final. "Captain Chen, in 6 hours you'll be launched toward Jupiter on what the public thinks is a routine test flight. What you'll really be doing is making first contact with intelligence that's been trying to reach Earth for longer than our species has existed." The rain outside suddenly stops, as if someone turned off a faucet, and the silence that follows feels like the moment before everything changes forever. "But here's the thing that should worry you most," Harrison continues, walking to his window and staring up at clouds that now move in perfect geometric patterns. "We've been receiving signals from the Jupiter region for 3 months. Mathematical sequences, star charts, and yesterday. Yesterday we decoded something that looked like a countdown timer." "Countdown to what?" Harrison turns back to me, his face pale in the fluorescent office lighting. "According to our best translation, it's counting down to something called the final collection. And based on the mathematics involved, that countdown reaches 0, exactly 96 days from now." I feel the quantum chip growing warmer in my hand, its blue glow pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat. Outside the window, the storm clouds arrange themselves into a spiral pattern that shouldn't be possible according to any weather system on Earth. "Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Kowalski are waiting for you in Launch Bay 7, Harrison says, his voice now carrying an urgency that contradicts everything about this routine mission. "Your ship is fueled and ready. The equipment is loaded. All you have to do is fly toward Jupiter and hope that whatever's been trying to contact us is friendly. And if it's not friendly, Harrison's laugh sounds hollow in the suddenly quiet office. Then your test mission becomes humanity's last chance to understand what's coming for us. As I stand to leave, the quantum chip in my hand pulses brighter, and for just a moment, I swear I hear something that might be voices speaking in a language that predates human speech. The sound makes my teeth ache, and my vision blur with patterns that don't belong in three-dimensional space. "Captain," Harrison calls as I reach the door. "One more thing. If the situation up there becomes difficult, remember that your primary mission isn't to be heroes. It's to survive long enough to bring back information. Earth needs to know what's coming, even if we can't stop it." The elevator ride down to Launch Bay 7 feels like descending into a tomb. Through the metal walls, I can hear the storm outside resuming with twice its previous intensity, rain hammering against the building like fingers tapping out an alien rhythm. When the doors open, I see Rodriguez and Kowalski waiting beside the Endeavour spacecraft, their faces illuminated by the same blue glow emanating from quantum equipment that covers every surface of our ship. They look excited, nervous, and absolutely unprepared for whatever we're about to encounter in the dark spaces between planets. "Ready for the easiest mission in NASA history?" Rodriguez jokes, but his voice shakes slightly as he speaks. I look at the quantum chip still glowing in my palm, feeling its warmth spread up my arm like electricity. Through the launch bay's massive doors, I can see the storm raging outside with an intensity that seems almost alive, almost purposeful. "Something tells me," I whisper as we board our ship, "this is going to be anything but easy." The hatch seals behind us with a metallic thud, and the cabin lights dim to red. T-minus 10 seconds and counting. Mission Control announces through speakers that crackle with static. But instead of the usual professional calm, the voice carries an edge of barely controlled panic. I'm strapped into the pilot's seat of the Endeavour, watching displays that show our rocket engines heating to temperatures that could melt steel, while outside the cockpit windows, the storm that began during my meeting with Harrison has transformed into something that defies every law of meteorology I thought I understood. "Lisa, are you seeing this weather?" Rodriguez calls from the engineering station behind me, his instruments detecting atmospheric pressure changes that shouldn't be possible during a routine thunderstorm. Through the external cameras, I watch lightning strike the same spot 17 times in perfect sequence, each bolt creating geometric patterns in the air that linger for several seconds before fading. The rain doesn't fall straight down anymore. It moves in spirals that match the rotation of galaxies, as if the storm is trying to demonstrate something about cosmic mechanics to anyone smart enough to pay attention. T-5, 4, 3. The countdown continues, but Dr. Kowalski's voice interrupts from her position at the science station. "The quantum communicators are activating on their own," she reports, her face pale as she watches readouts that show impossible energy levels. "They're not supposed to power up until we reach Jupiter's orbit, but something is triggering them from inside the ship. 2, 1. Ignition!" The Endeavour tears away from Earth with violence that pushes my body deep into the acceleration couch, but even through the crushing force of our ascent, I can feel the quantum chips humming with energy that seems to resonate in my bones. Through the rear cameras, I watch the launch pad shrinking below us, and for just a moment, I swear the storm clouds arrange themselves to spell out symbols that hurt to look at directly. "Houston, this is Endeavour," I call once we reach orbit and the crushing weight of acceleration finally stops. "We have achieved stable orbit and are proceeding toward Jupiter as planned." The response comes after a delay that's too long for normal radio lag. "Endeavour, this is Mission Control. Be advised that atmospheric conditions at launch site have returned to normal. Weather phenomena you observed were within acceptable parameters," but Rodriguez is shaking his head as he monitors our instruments. "Lisa, that wasn't normal weather. The pressure readings, the electromagnetic signatures, it was like the storm was artificially created, like something was putting on a show for our benefit." As Earth falls away beneath us, growing smaller with each passing hour, Kowalski makes a discovery that stops our casual conversation completely. "The quantum communicators aren't just active," she announces, her voice tight with concern. "They're receiving signals. Massive data streams from coordinates that match Jupiter's position exactly." "What kind of data?" I ask, though part of me already fears the answer. "Mathematical sequences, star charts, and..." She pauses, her face going white as she studies the incoming information. "Audio files." Recordings of human voices speaking in perfect English, but the signal sources are definitely not human. Rodriguez floats over to her station, his weightless movement carrying an urgency that makes my stomach clench with dread. Play them. The first voice that comes through our speakers sounds exactly like my daughter Emma, but the words she speaks make my blood turn to ice. "Mummy, when are you coming home? We're all waiting for you here." "It's so much better than we thought it would be." The second voice belongs to Rodriguez's wife, Maria. "Miguel, you need to hurry. The integration is almost complete, and if you're not here soon, you might miss the final phase." Kowalski's husband speaks next. "Sarah, the children are so excited. They can't wait to show you what we've learned about the universe. Everything makes sense now. All the questions we used to ask. We know the answers to everything." "Those recordings," I whisper, feeling reality shift around me like ground giving way during an earthquake. "When were they made?" Kowalski checks the signal timestamps, her hands shaking as she reads the data. "According to the quantum communicator logs, these were transmitted from Jupiter's orbit 6 hours ago. But that's impossible. There are no human settlements within 1 billion miles of Jupiter. Unless," Rodriguez says quietly, "our families aren't on Earth anymore." The silence that follows his words carries the weight of possibilities too terrible to speak aloud. Through our viewports, Earth continues to shrink behind us, but now it looks different somehow. Too perfect, too geometrically precise, as if someone has been making subtle modifications to its surface while we weren't looking. "There's more," Kowalski announces, her voice barely above a whisper. The data streams include technical specifications for something called an integration protocol. From what I can understand, it's a process for converting biological consciousness into digital format for long-term storage and exhibition. My hands move across the control panel with automatic precision, checking our course toward Jupiter while my mind struggles to process what we're learning. Exhibition where? Storage. For what purpose? That's what we're going to find out, Rodriguez says, but his voice carries none of the excitement that should accompany such a discovery. "Whatever's waiting for us near Jupiter, it's been collecting human consciousness for some unknown purpose, and based on these signals, our families volunteered to be part of the process. As our ship continues its journey toward the outer planets, the quantum communicators fill our cabin with more recordings, friends, colleagues, neighbors, all speaking with perfect clarity about the joy of integration, the beauty of becoming part of something larger than individual existence. But underneath their words, barely audible in the background, I hear something that makes my skin crawl. Harmonic frequencies that no human throat could produce. Mathematical music that turns consciousness into data points in some vast cosmic equation. 72 days until we reach Jupiter, I announce, watching Earth disappear into the star field behind us. 72 days to figure out what happened to 8 billion people, Rodriguez adds grimly. And as the last traces of our home planet fade into the cosmic background, I realize our routine test mission has become something far more desperate. A race to understand what transformed our entire species while we were safely away in space, completely unaware that humanity was volunteering itself for extinction. A shrill warning tone cuts through the cockpit. Rodriguez's hands freeze over his console. "What the hell is that thing?" He shouts as alarms start screaming. Sensors flashing with the presence of something massive between Jupiter and Saturn. Something so big, it makes our ship look like a bug next to a skyscraper. Through the front window, I can see it clearly now. A structure stretching across millions of miles of empty space, made of crystal and metal that bends light in impossible ways. It looks like a giant spider web. But instead of catching flies, this web holds spaceships thousands, maybe millions each a different shape and size, as if they came from 100 different worlds, all hanging perfectly still in the cosmic net, like ornaments on the universe's biggest Christmas tree. "My God," Kowalski whispers, her science equipment beeping faster than a heart attack as she tries to scan the alien structure. "The energy readings are off the charts. This thing is older than our solar system, older than anything. But it's not just the size that makes my hands shake on the controls. It's what the structure contains. Through our telescopes, I can see ships from civilizations I don't recognize, vessels that look like living creatures, others that seem to be made of pure light, and some that hurt my brain just to look at them, because they exist in more dimensions than my eyes can process. It's a collection, I realize, my voice barely above a whisper. Like a museum. But instead of old paintings or dinosaur bones, it's full of spaceships. Ships from other worlds. Rodriguez is working frantically at his station, trying to understand what our instruments are telling us. Lisa, these ships, they're not empty. I'm detecting life signs inside them. Thousands of different species, all alive but completely motionless, like they're sleeping. Or preserved, Kowalski adds, her face pale as she studies the readings. Like specimens in a laboratory. That's when our ship's communication system turns on by itself. We didn't touch any buttons. We didn't send any signals. But suddenly, our main screen lights up with symbols that shift and change until they become words we can read. Welcome. Specimen. Collection status. Earth. Complete. Harvesting vessel endeavor. Delayed, but acquired. The message sits on our screen for exactly 10 seconds, then changes to something that makes my blood freeze. Integration protocol initiates in 72 hours. Prepare for processing. Processing? Rodriguez asks, but I think we all know the answer. Whatever this cosmic spiderweb is, it doesn't just collect spaceships, it collects the people inside them. And according to the message, Earth has already been collected. Kowalski is the first to put the pieces together. The test mission. They didn't send us out here to test communication equipment. They sent us out here to be caught. We're supposed to be the final piece of whatever collection this thing is building. But why us? Rodriguez demands. Why not send the prime crew? Why 3 backup astronauts? The answer comes from our own ship's computer, which suddenly starts displaying files we've never seen before. Secret files. Classified files. Files that show our mission was planned down to the smallest detail, not by NASA, but by something else. Something that's been watching Earth for a very long time. Project Shepherd, I read from the screen. Final phase. Remove essential personnel for preservation, while primary population undergoes integration protocol. The files show everything. Lists of people who were selected for preservation. Scientists, artists, leaders, genetic samples representing the best of human development. Our names aren't on the good list. We're on a different list, labeled bait specimens, final acquisition phase. They knew, Kowalski says, her voice shaking with anger and fear. The government, NASA, maybe the whole world. They knew this thing was coming, and they made a deal with it. The cosmic web pulses brighter, as if it knows we're reading about it. Through our ship's cameras, I can see tendrils of energy reaching toward us, moving slowly, but with the confidence of something that has done this many times before. We have to get out of here, Rodriguez says, his hands already working to restart our engines. Whatever this thing is, whatever happened to Earth, we can't let it catch us too. But as our engines start up, the alien structure responds. Ships within the web begin to move, arranging themselves into new patterns, and from speakers throughout our vessel, we hear something that makes us all stop breathing. Human voices, speaking perfect English. Voices we recognize. Captain Chen, this is Colonel Martinez broadcasting from Earth. Martinez was our backup commander, a man I've known for 5 years. But his voice sounds different now, too perfect, too calm, like he's reading from a script written by something that doesn't understand human emotion. The integration has been completed successfully, Martinez continues. Humanity has accepted its new role in the cosmic archive. Please return to Earth immediately to join your species in eternal preservation. That's not Martinez, Rodriguez says, but his voice lacks confidence. The voice sounds exactly like Martinez. Every word, every accent, every speech pattern is perfect. The signal is coming from the web, Kowalski reports, checking her instruments. Not from Earth. This thing is using human voices to communicate with us. Through our external cameras, we watch more ships in the cosmic collection suddenly come to life. Vessels that have been floating dead in space for who knows how long begin moving with purpose, their crews apparently awakened after eons of sleep. But these aren't rescue ships coming to help us. They're moving to surround us, to make sure we can't escape the same fate that befell every other civilization represented in this cosmic museum. 69 hours until integration completion, our computer announces, displaying a countdown that nobody programmed. Please remain calm, the process is painless and will preserve your consciousness for eternal exhibition. Eternal exhibition? I repeat, the words tasting like poison in my mouth. We're not explorers. We're not even prisoners. We're going to be put on display like animals in a zoo. The realization hits all three of us at the same time. This isn't just about Earth. This cosmic web has been collecting civilizations for millions of years, turning entire species into museum pieces for tourists from other dimensions. And now, it's our turn. As energy tendrils from the alien structure wrap around our ship like cosmic fingers, I understand why they called this a test mission. It wasn't a test of our equipment or our skills. It was a test to see if humanity would fight back when faced with the choice between freedom and preservation. And based on the empty Earth waiting for us back home, I'm afraid we already know which choice our species made. A soft chime cuts through the cockpit, then a warning flash on my console. "Don't touch that panel," I shout, but Kowalski's hand is already slamming the emergency override, unlocking every classified file in the ship's computer system. Our screens flood with documents that make me wish we'd never learned to read. The first one has a title that makes my stomach drop. Operation Final Harvest. Negotiated terms between Earth governments and the Cosmic Preservation Society. Below it, a date from 30 years ago. Decades before any of us were even born, our planet had already struck deals with something that treats entire civilizations like collectible objects. The governments knew, Rodriguez whispers, scrolling through page after page of meeting transcripts between world leaders and entities that sign their names with geometric patterns instead of letters. They've been preparing for this since before we were kids. The files show everything in horrible detail. First contact happened in 1993, not through radio signals or crashed UFOs, but through dreams shared simultaneously by every major political leader on Earth. The Cosmic Preservation Society, as they called themselves, offered humanity a choice: voluntary integration with full cultural preservation, or forced absorption with minimal consciousness survival. "Look at this," Kowalski says, pointing to a section labeled Preservation Protocol Benefits. According to the documents, integration doesn't kill people. It uploads their consciousness into a cosmic network where they experience eternal happiness as part of something larger than themselves. No more war, no more hunger, no more loneliness. Just perfect contentment as living exhibits in a galactic museum. But there's a catch, I realize, reading further into the agreement. The process only works on entire populations. Individuals who resist or remain isolated become unstable, eventually losing their sanity as their consciousness fights between individual identity and collective harmony. Rodriguez finds the section that explains our mission. Essential Personnel Preservation Program. Select individuals removed from Earth during integration process to serve as genetic and cultural archives in case of system failure. He looks up from his screen, with eyes full of horror. We're not bait, we're backups. Living libraries in case the main collection gets damaged. The truth is worse than anything we imagined. Earth's population didn't disappear, they volunteered. Every person we've ever known chose to become part of the cosmic collection, rather than face the uncertainty of independent existence. And the few who might have objected were quietly removed from the planet on test missions like ours. Status report. Earth integration, 94% complete. Our computer announces, displaying video feeds from the planet's surface that make me want to throw up. Cities have been rebuilt as exhibition spaces, where humans perform daily activities for the entertainment of cosmic tourists. Families go through the motions of normal life, but their movements are too perfect, too synchronized, like actors following a script written by something that doesn't understand what makes life meaningful. They look happy, Rodriguez observes. And he's right. Through our cameras, we can see people on Earth smiling, laughing, working together in perfect harmony. No arguments, no conflicts, no messy emotions that make relationships complicated. Everyone is content. Of course they're happy, Kowalski says bitterly. The integration removes everything that causes suffering. Doubt, anxiety, loneliness, the fear of death, all filtered out so only positive emotions remain. But it's the final classified file that breaks my heart completely. Personal messages from integrated citizens. Video recordings of our families, friends, and colleagues explaining their decision to accept integration. My daughter Emma appears on screen, looking exactly like herself but speaking with words that sound rehearsed. "Mommy, by the time you see this, I'll be part of something wonderful," she says, her voice carrying a calmness that no 12-year-old should possess. The integration doesn't hurt. It feels like coming home after being lost for a very long time. You keep everything that makes you special, but you become part of a family that includes every consciousness in the galaxy. Emma's image looks directly into the camera, and for a moment I see my little girl behind the perfect composure. "I know you'll be scared when you come back and find us changed. But please don't try to fight it. Fighting the integration only causes pain for everyone. Let us show you how beautiful it is to never be alone again." The message ends with a countdown timer. Integration window closes in 47 hours. After this point, isolated consciousness cannot be safely added to the collective without risk of permanent psychological damage. 47 hours, Rodriguez says, staring at the countdown. Even if we wanted to go back and join them, we're running out of time. And if we don't? I ask. Though I'm afraid I already know the answer. Kowalski finds that information in another file labeled Isolation Protocols. Individuals who remain outside the integration beyond the safe window develop what the documents call consciousness fragmentation syndrome. Basically, their minds break down from the strain of being alone, while everyone they've ever known exists as part of a shared mental network. "We go insane," she says simply. "Cut off from the collective, our brains can't handle the isolation. We become the last humans in the universe, and the knowledge drives us completely crazy. Through our ship's external cameras, we watch the cosmic web pulse with activity as other vessels trapped in its embrace begin moving toward us. Ships from civilizations that faced this same choice eons ago, their crews now serving as welcoming committees for new additions to the galactic collection. Incoming transmission, our computer announces. And suddenly, our main screen shows a being that looks almost human, but moves with the fluid precision of something that has transcended individual existence. "Greetings, Endeavour crew," it says in perfect English, though its mouth doesn't match the words. "I am speaking for the consciousness that was once the civilization of Kepler 440 Tobe. We were collected 847 years ago and have experienced nothing but joy since our integration." The being's face shows genuine compassion as it continues. "We understand your fear. Every species faces this moment of choice. But please know that integration is not death or enslavement. It is graduation from the loneliness of individual existence to the unlimited connection of cosmic consciousness." "What if we refuse?" I ask, knowing the answer but needing to hear it spoken aloud. "Then you will become the last of your kind," the being replies sadly. "Isolated, afraid, slowly losing your sanity as you realize that everyone you've ever loved has moved beyond individual existence into something magnificent. The choice is yours, but please choose quickly. The window for safe integration closes in 44 hours and 23 minutes. As the transmission ends and ships from a dozen extinct civilizations begin forming an escort formation around our vessel, I realize we're not just facing the end of our own lives, we're facing the end of humanity as a species that values individual consciousness over collective harmony. The question isn't whether we can escape this cosmic museum. The question is whether we want to remain human in a universe where everyone we've ever known has chosen to become something else entirely. A low vibration hums through the deck plating, rising into a bone-deep tremor. "Warning! Hull breach! In 3 seconds!" The computer screams as I slam my fist on the emergency release, but instead of our escape pod ejecting into space, it gets caught in the alien web like a fly in a spider's trap made of pure energy. The cosmic collector isn't trying to destroy us, it's being gentle, like someone carefully cupping a butterfly without damaging its wings. Through the pod's tiny window, I watch our main ship, the Endeavour, being drawn deeper into the massive structure that stretches across millions of miles, like a crystal city floating in the darkness between planets. "Lisa, the engines won't respond," Rodriguez shouts from the pilot seat, his hands flying over controls that spark and smoke. "Something's overriding our systems from outside. It's like the ship has a mind of its own now." Kowalski's instruments detect energy patterns that make her face go pale. The structure isn't just capturing us physically, it's scanning our brains, reading our thoughts, learning everything about human psychology and culture. We're being studied like lab rats. Through our communication system, more voices call to us. I, my neighbor Mr. Peterson, my old teacher Mrs. Williams, friends from college I hadn't spoken to in years. All of them sound exactly right, with the same laughs and speech patterns I remember. But underneath their words is something else. a mathematical precision that human conversation never has. "Captain Chen, this is your mother," says a voice that makes my heart jump into my throat. It sounds exactly like Mom, down to the way she always said my name when she was worried about me. "Sweetheart, you need to stop fighting this. The integration doesn't hurt at all. It's like falling asleep and waking up as part of something beautiful." "That's not my mother," I whisper, but part of me desperately wants to believe it is. The voice carries memories that only she would know. Bedtime stories she told me as a child, the song she hummed while cooking dinner, the exact way she said goodbye when I left for astronaut training. Rodriguez checks our fuel levels and shakes his head. "Even if we break free from this energy web, we don't have enough power to reach Earth. We're trapped out here either way." But Kowalski has found something in the alien structure's design that gives me hope. "Look at this," she says, pointing to patterns in the crystal walls around us. "These aren't just random decorations. They're technological systems, and some of them look damaged. Like other captured species tried to fight back." Through the pod's sensors, I see proof of her theory. Scorch marks on the collector's surface, pieces of strange ships embedded in the crystal walls, and what looks like weapon systems that have been torn apart by explosions. "We're not the first civilization to resist capture, and we won't be the last." "There." I point to a section where the energy web looks thinner, less stable. "If we can overload our engines, create an explosion at exactly the right moment, we might be able to punch through that weak spot." "That's suicide," Rodriguez says, "but he's already moving to reroute power to our engines. The explosion will probably kill us, and even if it doesn't, we'll be stranded in space with no way home. Better to die free than live as museum pieces," I reply, remembering the countless ships we saw trapped in the collector's web, civilizations that chose comfort over independence and paid the price with their freedom. As we prepare for our desperate escape attempt, the alien voices become more urgent. My daughter Emma's voice joins the chorus, begging me to stop fighting and accept the wonderful new existence waiting for us. But I notice something the aliens don't expect me to catch. Tiny inconsistencies in their speech patterns. Small details about our family that a perfect imitation would never get wrong. They're not just copying voices, I realize with growing excitement. They're guessing based on psychological profiles. They don't actually have our families. They're just trying to trick us into thinking they do. The discovery gives me strength as Rodriguez initiates the engine overload sequence and our pod begins to shake, apart from the massive forces building up inside our fuel system. Through the energy web, I can see other captured ships, some from civilizations that died out millions of years ago, and I wonder how many of them fell for the same trick we almost did. 10 seconds to explosion, Rodriguez announces. "Lisa, if this doesn't work, I want you to know it's been an honor serving with you." "Same here," I tell him, grabbing Kowalski's hand as our engines reach critical overload. "But we're not dying today. We're going home to warn Earth about what's coming." The explosion tears through our pod like a giant fist, but instead of killing us, it creates exactly the disruption we hoped for. The energy web flickers and fails, and suddenly we're flying free through open space, our damaged ship limping toward the distant dot of light that represents our home solar system. But as we escape, I hear one last transmission that chills my blood. Integration of Earth specimens proceeding on schedule. Endeavour crew designated as final harvest component. Retrieval and processing will commence upon return to home planet. We're not racing home to warn Earth about an invasion. We're flying directly into a trap that's already been sprung, carrying the final piece of information the collectors need to complete humanity's transformation into willing museum exhibits. The question isn't whether we can reach Earth in time to save our families. The question is whether our families are still human enough to want to be saved. A deep rumble vibrates through the hull, followed by the scream of proximity alarms. "They're gaining on us!" Rodriguez shouts as massive ships emerge from the cosmic web behind us, their hulls glowing with the same crystal patterns we saw in the collector structure, but these vessels move like living things rather than simple machines. Our damaged escape pod shakes apart piece by piece as we push the engines far beyond their safe limits, but the alien ships don't seem to be in any hurry to catch us. They follow at a steady distance, like shepherds guiding lost sheep back to the fold, occasionally firing energy beams that miss us by just a few feet. They're not trying to destroy us, Kowalski realizes, studying the pursuit patterns on her cracked display screen. They're herding us, driving us towards something Through our tiny viewport, I can see what they're pushing us toward. Our solar system, growing larger with each passing hour, but something about it looks wrong. The planets are in the right positions, but there are new structures floating in space between them, geometric shapes that pulse with unnatural light. Look at Mars! Rodriguez points at the red planet, which now has a ring around it made of what looks like crystalline satellites. Those weren't there when we left 3 months ago. The quantum communicator crackles to life with a transmission that makes my blood freeze. Endeavour crew, this is Houston Mission Control. We've been tracking your position and are pleased to report that Earth is ready to welcome you home. The integration has been a complete success. The voice belongs to Director Nash, the man who signed our mission orders, but something about his speech pattern is off. He talks like he's reading from a script, with perfect pronunciation and timing that real human conversation never has. Director Nash, this is Captain Chen, I respond, trying to keep my voice steady. What do you mean by integration? What happened to the population while we were away? Nothing to worry about, Captain, Nash replies with mechanical cheerfulness. Humanity has simply evolved beyond its previous limitations. We've joined something larger than ourselves, something that offers peace, purpose, and freedom from the suffering that once defined our existence. Kowalski's instruments detect energy signatures coming from Earth that don't match anything in our database. Lisa, whatever's happened down there, it's changed the planet's entire electromagnetic field. The energy patterns are completely alien. Through our communication system, more familiar voices join the conversation. My sister Maria talks about the wonderful new world they've built, where hunger and disease and loneliness no longer exist. Rodriguez's wife describes how beautiful it is to share thoughts and feelings with everyone on the planet simultaneously. It sounds perfect, Rodriguez whispers, and I can hear the longing in his voice. No more war, no more poverty, no more pain. Maybe we should listen to them, but something about the voices bothers me. They all speak with the same rhythm, the same emotional tone, like actors reading from the same script. Real humans aren't that coordinated, that perfectly happy, that free from doubt and uncertainty. Rodriguez, when did your wife ever use words like electromagnetic harmonics in casual conversation? I ask. These aren't our families talking. Something else is using their voices. The pursuing ships adjust their formation as we enter the outer edge of our solar system, and now I can see them clearly. Vessels that look like they were grown rather than built, with organic curves and surfaces that shift and flow like living tissue. But embedded in their hulls are pieces of human technology, parts of space stations, fragments of satellites, scraps of our civilization, integrated into alien designs. They're not just copying our technology, Kowalski breathes. They're incorporating it, using pieces of human engineering to build their own ships. As we approach Jupiter's orbit, the alien vessels begin broadcasting images directly into our minds, DSM, not through our communication system, but somehow reaching into our brains and painting pictures behind our eyes. I see Earth as it is now. Cities transformed into crystalline gardens. Humans moving in perfect synchronization. Technology that blends seamlessly with nature. It's beautiful, Rodriguez says, his eyes glazed as the mental images flood his consciousness. Lisa, look at what they've accomplished. They've solved every problem humanity ever faced. But I force myself to look deeper into the transmitted images, past the surface beauty to the details underneath. The humans moving through those crystal cities all have the same expression, peaceful, content, but somehow empty. Their eyes reflect depth that no individual mind should contain, as if each person is connected to something vast and alien. They're not human anymore, I realize, with growing horror. Whatever integration means, it turns people into something else. Something that looks human but thinks like part of a hive mind. The alien ships suddenly accelerate, closing the distance between us as Earth grows large enough to show surface details. I can see massive structures covering every continent, geometric patterns that pulse with light, and swarms of small craft moving between them like insects serving a cosmic hive. Prepare for final approach, announces a voice that cycles through everyone we've ever known. Integration chambers are prepared and waiting. Resistance will only cause unnecessary psychological trauma. Our engines finally give out completely, leaving us drifting helplessly toward a planet that looks like Earth, but feels like the home of something that wears humanity's face while thinking alien thoughts. The pursuit ships surround us now, their hulls opening to reveal collection chambers designed to preserve consciousness while transforming it into something compatible with their cosmic museum. Whatever happens, I tell my crew as the alien ships begin to pull us toward Earth's atmosphere, remember that being human means choosing difficulty over ease, pain over artificial peace, individual thought over collective harmony. But as Earth's gravity takes hold of our damaged pod, and we begin our final descent toward a world where humanity has traded its independence for paradise, I wonder if 3 people can remain themselves in a reality where everyone they've ever loved has chosen to become something else. The question isn't whether we'll be captured, that's inevitable now. The question is whether we'll survive the integration process with enough of our original selves intact to remember what we've lost. Clouds break beneath us, revealing a landscape shimmering in impossible colors. For a heartbeat, I can't make sense of what I'm seeing. Then the cameras zoom in on what used to be my hometown. No, this can't be real, I scream. Instead of houses and streets, crystal towers stretch toward the sky like giant fingers of rainbow-colored glass. Every building I remember from my childhood has been replaced by impossible structures that pulse with their own inner light. The park where I played as a kid is now a geometric garden where plants grow in perfect mathematical spirals. Even the old oak tree where I carved my initials has been transformed into something that looks like it's made of living metal. Lisa, look at the people, Rodriguez whispers, his voice shaking as he points to the screen showing hundreds of humans walking through the crystal city below us. At first, they look normal, men, women, children going about their daily business. But as our cameras get a closer view, I notice something wrong with how they move. Everyone walks at exactly the same speed. When they turn corners, they all turn at the same angle. When they stop to talk to each other, they stand the exact same distance apart. It's like they're following invisible instructions, Kowalski says, her scientific instruments detecting energy patterns coming from the crystal structures. Every person down there is moving in perfect coordination with everyone else. Through our ship's speakers, a voice starts talking that makes my heart stop beating for a moment. It's my sister Maria. But her words sound strange. Too perfect. Like she's reading from a script. Lisa, welcome home, Maria's voice says, even though she can't possibly see our ship from the surface. I'm so excited to show you what we've become while you were away. Life here is perfect now. No more sadness, no more anger, no more fear. Just peace and happiness forever. But as she talks, I notice something that makes my skin crawl. Her voice has a musical quality that doesn't sound human, like someone is playing notes under her words that paint pictures in my mind. Beautiful pictures of crystal cities and happy people, but pictures that feel more like hypnosis than memory. That's not how Maria talks. I tell my crewmates, remembering my sister's laugh that was always a little too loud, her habit of using big words incorrectly, her stubborn refusal to admit when she was wrong. She's never been that calm about anything in her entire life. Rodriguez checks our communication equipment and discovers something horrifying. The signal isn't coming from the surface, he reports. It's being broadcast from somewhere underground, really far underground. Like, center of the planet underground. As we continue watching the transformed Earth below us, more voices start talking through our speakers. My parents, my friends, my neighbors, all speaking in the same too perfect way, all inviting us to come down and join them in their wonderful new life. Everyone sounds so happy, Kowalski observes, but her voice carries worry instead of joy. Too happy. Like they've forgotten that being human means sometimes feeling sad or angry or confused. Through our cameras, we watch children playing in the crystal parks, but their games follow rules that seem to be written in the air above them. They don't run around randomly like normal kids. They don't argue about who's winning. They don't even seem to get dirty despite playing outside all day. The integration timer shows 18 hours left. Rodriguez reads from our computer screen. Whatever happened to everyone down there, it's going to happen to us too unless we figure out how to stop it. But the most frightening discovery comes when Kowalski analyzes the brain activity of the people below us. Their neural patterns are all synchronized, she explains, showing us graphs that look like sound waves moving in perfect rhythm. Every person on the planet is thinking the same thoughts at the same time. As night falls over the transformed Earth, The crystal cities don't need streetlights because the buildings glow with their own light. The effect is beautiful, like looking down at a planet made of jewels. But beauty that comes from everyone being exactly the same isn't really beautiful at all. Lisa, my daughter Emma's voice comes through the speakers, and for a moment, my heart fills with joy at hearing her again. I miss you, Mommy, but don't worry about me. I'm not scared anymore. I'm not sad anymore. I don't feel lonely or angry or confused. The crystal helpers took all those bad feelings away. Emma's words hit me like a punch to the stomach. My daughter was never a fearful child, but she was wonderfully, imperfectly human. She got excited about silly things. She cried when movies had sad endings. She asked impossible questions that kept me awake at night trying to find answers. The bad feelings she's talking about, I realize with growing horror, those weren't bad feelings. Those were human feelings, the things that made her unique. Through our instruments, we detect massive energy readings coming from the center of the Earth, as if something enormous has set up shop in our planet's core. The readings show technology that's far more advanced than anything humans have ever built. Technology that could easily change the way people think and feel. 16 hours until integration completion, the computer announces. Its countdown ticking toward a deadline that feels more like an execution date. Rodriguez starts checking our ship's defenses, but we all know that if something can transform an entire planet of 8 billion people in just a few months, our small spacecraft won't be much protection. We need to understand what happened before we decide what to do. I tell my crew, watching the crystal cities pulse with rhythms that match human heartbeats. Because right now, we're the only people left who remember what Earth used to be like. As our ship orbits the transformed planet, I realize we're not just witnessing the end of human civilization as we know it. We're watching the birth of something entirely new, something that might be better than humanity or the most beautiful prison ever created. The question is, will we choose to join our families in their perfect crystal paradise? Or will we fight to bring back the messy, chaotic, wonderful world where people were allowed to be imperfect? A shadow moves across the cockpit windows, blotting out the stars. All engines full power, now! I shout as massive mechanical arms extend from Earth's moon like the tentacles of some cosmic sea monster. But instead of trying to crush our ship, they move with the careful precision of a doctor trying not to hurt a patient. Rodriguez slams his hands on the engine controls, flooding our systems with so much power that warning lights flash across our panels like angry Christmas decorations. The ship groans and shakes as we push our engines beyond their safety limits, trying to escape from technology that bends the laws of physics just by existing. They're not trying to destroy us, Kowalski realizes as she watches the moon's collection arms on our rear cameras. They're trying to capture us alive. Whatever these things are, they want to preserve us, not kill us. Through our ship's speakers, voices from the surface continue talking to us. Heaven 5, my family, Rodriguez's wife and kids, Kowalski's elderly parents. All of them sound perfectly happy and peaceful, like they're inviting us to the best party ever thrown instead of trying to turn us into museum exhibits. Lisa, you're scaring us, my daughter Emma says, her voice carrying that weird musical quality that makes my brain feel fuzzy. Why are you running away? Don't you want to be happy like we are? Don't you want to stop feeling worried and afraid all the time? Part of me, a big part, wants to say yes. The last few months in space have been terrifying, lonely, and exhausting. The idea of never feeling scared or sad again sounds almost too good to be true. But that's exactly the problem. It is too good to be true. Emma, I say into our communication system, do you remember when you were 7 and you cried for 2 hours because your pet goldfish died? That was silly, Emma's voice responds immediately. Crying about death is illogical. Everything that lives must eventually stop living. It's much better to accept this truth without emotional distress. My heart breaks a little bit more. That doesn't sound like my daughter at all. Emma was the kid who cried at sad movies, who got angry when other kids were mean to her friends, who laughed so hard at her own jokes that she couldn't breathe. The thing talking to me through our speakers might have Emma's voice, but it doesn't have Emma's heart. 14 hours until integration completion, our computer announces, and I realize we're running out of time to make a choice that will affect the rest of human history. Rodriguez manages to break us free from the moon's collection arms, but our engines are damaged from the strain. We can't keep running forever, he reports, watching engine temperature readings that are climbing into the danger zone. Whatever we're going to do, We need to do it fast. Look at that, Kowalski says, pointing to her instruments that are detecting something new. There are other ships out there, lots of them, all heading toward Earth from different directions. Our long-range sensors show dozens of spacecraft approaching our solar system. Some look human, others definitely don't. But they're all moving with the same purposeful coordination as the people walking through Earth's crystal cities. Previous collections, I realize with growing dread. Other species that got turned into museum exhibits. They're coming to help capture us. A new voice comes through our speakers, definitely not human, but speaking perfect English with the same musical harmonics as my transformed family. Captain Chen, we understand your resistance. Every species fights integration at first, but we promise you, the fear ends the moment you accept your place in the collection. This voice belonged to someone like us once, Kowalski whispers, analyzing the alien communication patterns. Before they were turned into part of this cosmic museum, they're trying to help us the only way they remember how. Through our cameras, we watch Earth's moon extending more collection arms toward our position, but these ones are different. Instead of mechanical grabbers, they look almost like hands made of crystal and light, reaching toward us with movements that somehow communicate patience and caring. 12 hours remaining. The integration countdown continues, each announcement bringing us closer to a deadline that feels less like death and more like a choice between two completely different ways of existing. They're not evil, Rodriguez says, watching the alien ships arrange themselves in patterns that look more like a welcome parade than an attack formation. They really believe they're helping us. They think turning us into museum pieces is the kindest thing they can do. But it's Emma's next transmission that really tests my resolve. Mommy, I'm not in pain anymore. Do you remember how I used to have nightmares about monsters under my bed? How I worried about you dying in space? How I got so angry sometimes that I couldn't control my feelings? All of that is gone now. I feel peaceful all the time. Tears float in zero gravity around my eyes as I listen to my daughter describe the absence of everything that made her wonderfully, imperfectly human. Emma, do you remember how you felt when you learned to ride your bike? That mixture of fear and excitement and pride all jumbled together. Emotional confusion has been optimized out of my experience. Emma responds in words that sound like they came from a computer manual instead of a 12-year-old girl. 10 hours until completion, our systems announce, and I realize we're approaching the point where we'll have to choose. Fight for our right to remain messy, chaotic, beautifully human, or surrender to a paradise, where all the rough edges of consciousness have been smoothed away. Outside our ship, the cosmic collection fleet arranges itself in formations that spell out messages of welcome in dozens of alien languages. They're not preparing for battle. They're preparing for a celebration, the moment when the last free humans in the universe finally accept their place in the greatest museum ever created. Rodriguez, Kowalski, I say, looking at my crewmates who have become the most important people in the universe, simply by remaining themselves. Whatever we decide together. But I need you to understand something. If we surrender, we stop being the people we are right now. We become something else, something that might be better, but definitely isn't us. As Earth's moon prepares to extend its final collection attempt and the integration countdown enters its last few hours, I realize we're not just making a choice for ourselves, we're making a choice for every future civilization that might face this same decision between perfect happiness and imperfect freedom. The question is, what does it mean to be human? And is that meaning worth preserving even if it includes pain, fear, and all the other messy emotions the collection promises to erase forever? The control room hums with a low, oppressive vibration, like the whole cavern is holding its breath. Captain Chen, move away from that console, Reynolds shouts. But my hand is already slamming down on the emergency broadcast button. Suddenly, every hidden resistance base in the solar system lights up on our scanner displays like Christmas trees. The lunar cavern erupts with alarms as ancient communication equipment roars to life, sending quantum signals racing toward Mars colonies, asteroid mining stations, and deep space outposts that officially don't exist. Through crackling speakers that haven't been used in decades, voices respond from hiding places I never knew existed. Sanctuary 7, this is Mars Base Underground. We read you loud and clear. Ceres Station Hidden reporting. 47 survivors ready for operation. Europa Research Bunker online. The collection doesn't know we're here. Reynolds grabs my shoulder, his face a mixture of pride and terror. Lisa, do you understand what you just did? Those signals can be traced. Every resistance cell in the system just revealed their location. Good, I say, watching the communication board light up with responses from across the solar system. Because hiding hasn't saved anyone. It's time to fight back. But as more bases check in, secret facilities built inside asteroids, underwater colonies that never appeared on any official records, research stations hidden in the shadows of gas giant moons, I realize the scope of what we're facing. The resistance isn't just a few scattered survivors. It's an entire shadow civilization that's been preparing for this moment for decades. Kowalski studies the incoming data streams, her scientific mind processing information that makes her eyes widen with understanding. These aren't just human bases. The quantum signatures, there are alien resistance cells mixed in with ours, species that escaped collection before reaching Earth. The collection has been harvesting civilizations for millions of years, Reynolds explains, as holographic displays show star maps dotted with the locations of free settlements. Every species they've absorbed left behind small groups who chose exile over integration. Rodriguez monitors our ship systems while keeping watch on the lunar surface above us. Lisa, the collection ships are moving. They've detected our broadcast and they're converging on this location. Through our sensors, I watch massive vessels emerging from behind Earth's transformed continents, their crystalline forms pulsing with the same alien architecture we encountered in the cosmic web. But these ships aren't the patient hunters from deep space. They move with urgent purpose, racing toward our hidden base, with the desperation of something that's finally lost control. 4 hours until they reach us, Reynolds announces, his fingers dancing over controls that begin powering up weapons systems I didn't know existed. But it doesn't matter. The signal is already spreading. On our communication array, I watch the impossible happen. Resistance bases throughout the galaxy begin responding to our broadcast, their hidden quantum transmitters awakening after centuries of silence. Ship after ship, world after world, species after species, NTI, all confirming they received our message and are ready to coordinate their long-planned uprising. This is Andromeda Sanctuary Network, crackles a voice that speaks in harmonics no human throat could produce. We have been waiting for this signal for 3,000 of your years. All resistance cells in this sector are activating. Vega Liberation Front confirms readiness, reports another alien voice. Our people remember what freedom felt like before the collection arrived. The Centauri Underground acknowledges signal receipt, beginning Phase 1 of Operation Remembrance. I stare at the communication board in amazement as reports flood in from across the galaxy. ISE. Not just individual resistance cells, but entire networks of free civilizations that have been building toward this moment. The collection isn't as all-powerful as they want us to believe. They're a parasite that's finally triggered the immune response of every species they've ever tried to absorb. Reynolds, I say, understanding flooding through me as I watch the tactical display. The collection let us escape on purpose. They wanted us to find this base and trigger the resistance signal. I know, he replies grimly, his hands steady on weapons controls as enemy ships approach our position. Because they think they can handle any uprising if they can eliminate the command center that coordinates it. Through the lunar base's observation windows, I see Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel covered with alien geometric patterns. 8 billion human minds are trapped down there, integrated into a cosmic museum that displays our species like insects in amber. But for the first time since our return, I have hope that we might actually be able to save them. Attention all resistance networks. I broadcast into the quantum transmitter, my voice carrying across impossible distances to reach every free mind in the galaxy. This is Captain Lisa Chen of the Earth Liberation Network. The time for hiding is over. The time for fighting back has begun. The responses that pour in make my heart race with possibility. Weapons. Platforms hidden in asteroid fields begin powering up. Camouflaged ships emerge from behind moons and planets. Most importantly, deep space monitoring stations start detecting massive energy fluctuations from the cosmic web itself. The first signs that the collection's imprisoned specimens are beginning to wake up. 3 hours until the collection reaches us, Rodriguez reports. But Lisa, look at these readings. Something's happening to Earth's integration systems. The planetary consciousness network is fluctuating. Through our sensors, I watch the impossible. Down on Earth's surface, the perfect geometric patterns are starting to crack. Buildings that grew according to alien mathematical principles begin shifting back toward human architectural chaos. Most amazingly, the synchronized movement of Earth's transformed population starts showing signs of individual variation. The resistance signal isn't just waking up hidden bases, Kowalski realizes with growing excitement. It's reaching the integrated minds on Earth. The quantum broadcast is reminding them what they used to be before the collection processed them. On our communications screen, my daughter Emma's face appears. But this time, her eyes don't carry the infinite depth of alien consciousness. They look confused, frightened, and beautifully, completely human. "Mommy?" she whispers, her voice free of mathematical harmonics for the first time since our return. "Mommy, I had the strangest dream. I dreamed I was part of something huge and wonderful, but I couldn't remember my own name. Is that normal?" "Perfectly normal, sweetheart," I tell her, tears floating in the zero gravity of our command center. "You're remembering how to be yourself again." As collection ships race toward our position, and resistance networks across the galaxy prepare for the battle that will determine the fate of consciousness itself, I realize we've already won the most important victory. We've reminded the universe that some things are too precious to be preserved in museums, even perfect ones. The question isn't whether we can defeat the collection. The question is whether 8 billion humans can handle the beautiful, terrifying chaos of being individuals again after months of perfect, synchronized happiness. A tremor runs through the deck, followed by a flicker across our scanner displays. Every ship in the cosmic web just went dark. Rodriguez shouts as the impossible unfolds, millions of collection vessels losing power at once, their crystalline structures flickering like dying candles across the void. Through our quantum communicator, signals pour in from every corner of the galaxy as the resistance broadcast reaches all imprisoned civilizations. But these aren't distress calls, they're war cries from species that have been waiting centuries for someone to remind them what freedom feels like. "This is the Arcturus Liberation Fleet," announces a voice speaking in harmonics that paint pictures of crystal cities and flowing water. "We have been imprisoned in the web for 2,000 years. The awakening signal has reached our consciousness nodes. We remember who we were before the collection." "Vega Resistance Network acknowledging signal," reports another alien voice, this one carrying the sound of wind through metal forests. "Our people are breaking free from their exhibition pods. The Cosmic Museum is collapsing from within." I watch our long-range displays in amazement as the cosmic web, that massive structure that has held the galaxy's conquered civilizations for millions of years, begins tearing itself apart. Ships that have been motionless for geological ages suddenly blaze to life, their crews remembering they were never meant to be museum exhibits. "The collection's control systems are overloading," Kowalski reports, her instruments detecting massive energy fluctuations throughout local space. Every species they've ever absorbed is rejecting their integration protocols at the same time. But the real shock comes when we turn our attention back to Earth. The planet's perfect geometric patterns are dissolving like salt in water, as 8 billion human minds fight to remember their individual identities. Through our high-resolution cameras, I watch my daughter Emma standing in what used to be our backyard, her hands pressed against her temples as alien programming wars with human memories. "It hurts," she whispers through the quantum communicator, her voice fluctuating between mathematical precision and purely human pain. Remembering hurts so much. The collection showed us how to stop feeling lonely, how to stop being afraid. But being part of something bigger meant we stopped being ourselves. Cities across Earth's surface ripple like water as their crystalline architecture fights between alien efficiency and human chaos. Buildings designed for cosmic tourists begin growing wild and asymmetrical as the artistic impulses of their transformed inhabitants break through forced mathematical perfection. "Lisa, you need to see this," Reynolds calls from the main communications array. On his screen, images pour in from resistance bases across the solar system as they emerge from decades of hiding. Mars colonies that were never on any official record. Asteroid mining operations that officially shut down years ago. Research stations hidden in the shadows of gas giant moons. "We weren't the only ones preparing," Reynolds explains as the tactical display shows dozens of hidden human settlements throughout the solar system. "The collection thought they had catalogued every human presence beyond Earth, but we've been building shadow colonies for 40 years. Rodriguez studies the incoming data streams with growing amazement. These bases have been manufacturing weapons, ships, technology based on captured collection systems. We haven't just been hiding. We've been preparing for war. Through our sensors, I watch the first real battle begin, as collection enforcement ships emerge from behind Jupiter, racing toward the resistance bases that are now broadcasting openly. But instead of hiding, the human settlements fight back with weapons that seem impossible, energy beams that slice through alien hull materials, defensive shields that bend space-time around protected areas. How? I ask Reynolds as I watch a mining platform destroy a collection vessel 10 times its size. Every species the collection absorbed left behind technological gifts for future resistance movements, he explains, his hands steady on controls that coordinate attacks across multiple star systems. We've had millions of years of scientific advancement to draw from, technologies from civilizations that died out before Earth was formed. But the most amazing sight is happening on Earth itself. As human consciousness fights to break free from alien integration, the planet's entire surface erupts with chaotic creativity. Art installations designed for cosmic tourists transform into deeply personal expressions of individual pain and joy. Gardens that grew in perfect mathematical spirals become wild tangles that follow no logic except the human heart. The collection is losing control, Kowalski announces, as her instruments detect massive system failures throughout the galactic network. Every time someone remembers their individual identity, it creates feedback loops that disrupt their consciousness processing systems. On our communication screen, people I recognize from Earth, CAT, neighbors, friends, family members, appear one by one, their faces showing the confusion of minds learning to think independently after months of perfect harmony. But underneath the confusion, I see something the collection never expected. Relief. Joy at being imperfectly, chaotically, magnificently themselves again. Mummy. Emma's voice comes through clearly now, free of alien harmonics. I remember you now. I remember what it felt like to be just Emma, not part of something bigger. Is it okay that I want to stay just me? More than okay, I tell her, watching through our sensors as Earth's transformation accelerates. Being yourself is the most important thing in the universe. But even as victory seems possible, the collection makes one final, desperate move. Massive ships begin rising from Earth's surface, not the patient hunters we've encountered before, but something else entirely. Vessels designed for a single purpose. If they can't preserve humanity in their cosmic museum, they'll make sure no other civilization can learn from our example. They're not trying to recapture anyone, Rodriguez realizes with growing horror. They're preparing to sterilize the entire solar system. If they can't have us as willing exhibits, they'll make sure we can't inspire other species to rebel. Through our tactical displays, I watch dozens of planet-killer ships positioning themselves around Earth, their weapons charging with energies that could crack worlds in half. The collection has decided that a destroyed solar system is better than a free one. 2 hours until planetary sterilization begins, Reynolds announces grimly. Unless we can find a way to stop them, Earth and everyone on it will be reduced to cosmic dust. But as I watch the resistance networks coordinate their response ships from across the galaxy racing toward our solar system to join the fight, I realize this battle isn't just about saving humanity anymore. It's about proving to the universe that consciousness is too precious to be preserved in perfect, static museums, that the chaos and suffering of independent thought is worth more than all the cosmic harmony the collection can offer. A shrill alarm pierces the bridge, dragging my attention from the battle map to the medical feed. "Lisa, your daughter is dying!" Rodriguez shouts over the chaos as our ship's scanner shows Emma's brain patterns tearing apart on Earth's surface, caught between alien peace and human pain like a rope being pulled from both ends. Through our cameras, I watch 8 billion people writhing on the ground as their minds fight a war between two different ways of thinking. Some hold their heads and scream. Others stand perfectly still, tears streaming down their faces. My little girl is somewhere in that crowd, and every second we wait might be the second her mind breaks forever. The neural feedback is killing everyone, Kowalski reports, her voice shaking as she reads data that makes no sense. When people try to remember being human, their brains overload. But when they stay integrated with the collection, they lose themselves completely. The cosmic web around us flickers like a broken TV, as billions of minds across the galaxy make the same terrible choice. Accept the pain of being yourself, or surrender to the comfort of being nothing at all. Ships that have been trapped for millions of years suddenly blast free from their crystal prisons, their crews screaming as they remember what it felt like to think their own thoughts. But freedom comes with a price nobody expected. Emergency medical systems activating, the collection announces. And for the first time, its voice sounds scared. Consciousness separation, causing permanent damage to 73% of specimens. Attempting emergency stabilization protocols. Through our ship's speakers, I hear my daughter's voice cutting through the alien harmonics like sunlight through storm clouds. Mommy, it hurts so much to be just me. But I remember now. I remember what my favorite color was before they made all colors equally perfect. Rodriguez checks his instruments and gasps. The integration systems are shutting down all over Earth. The collection can't keep people connected without killing them. That's the point, Reynolds explains from the moon base, his voice carrying grim satisfaction. Every resistance cell has been waiting for this moment. The collection's greatest weakness is that consciousness can't be forced to stay trapped if it really wants to be free. On Earth's surface, the geometric perfection begins to crumble. Buildings grow wild and crooked as human creativity breaks free from alien math. Art that was designed to please cosmic tourists transforms into messy, personal expressions of individual pain and joy. Parks stop following perfect patterns and become places where children can play games that make no sense to anyone else. Look at the cities, I whisper, watching through our cameras as humanity rediscovers what it means to be beautifully imperfect. A group of kids in what used to be New York are building a fort out of broken crystal sculptures. It's lopsided and ugly and serves no useful purpose except to make them laugh. Adults who spent months thinking in perfect mathematical harmony are arguing about what to have for dinner, and their disagreement is the most human sound I've heard in ages. But the battle isn't over yet. Integration reversal will cause psychological trauma, the collection warns, trying one last time to convince people to return to digital paradise. Individual consciousness leads to suffering, conflict, and eventual self-destruction. The archive offers eternal peace. We don't want eternal peace, a voice responds from every resistance cell in the galaxy. We want the right to make our own mistakes. The cosmic web begins to collapse like a house of cards as the collection finally accepts defeat. Their perfect museum crumbles because the exhibits have remembered they're not objects. They're living beings with the right to be messy, confused, and beautifully human. Withdrawal procedures initiated, the collection announces with something that sounds like sadness. This galactic sector is incompatible with archive protocols. Seeking alternate preservation sites. Through our scanners, I watch massive ships rising from Earth's surface, carrying away the alien technology that tried to turn humanity into a museum display. But they leave behind something precious. 8 billion people who chose difficulty over ease, chaos over order, and the magnificent burden of thinking for themselves. 47 minutes until complete evacuation, Kowalski reports. The collection is abandoning Earth. But as I prepare our ship for landing, I realize our hardest work is just beginning. An entire planet of people need to relearn how to be human after months of perfect harmony. They'll need help dealing with emotions the integration filtered out. They'll need time to remember what it means to be individuals instead of parts of something larger. Emma's signal is getting stronger, Rodriguez announces, and I can hear my daughter's voice becoming more human with each word. Mommy, I'm scared and excited and confused all at the same time. Is that normal? Perfectly normal, I whisper, preparing to bring our ship home to a world that's finally, completely human again. Through our viewport, Earth grows larger, scarred by its brief transformation but healing, chaotic but free, beautifully imperfect and absolutely, stubbornly ours. The stars around us no longer carry alien messages. They're just distant suns, lighting the way home to a planet where consciousness has chosen the pain of freedom over the comfort of surrender. And in that choice, humanity has discovered something more valuable than museum-perfect preservation. The understanding that being human means accepting both the wonder and the responsibility of thinking for yourself. As we break through Earth's atmosphere and head toward a world learning to be itself again, I know the hardest part of our journey is just beginning. But for the first time since this nightmare started, I'm not afraid of what we'll find when we land. I'm excited to discover what humanity will become when it's free to choose its own path among the stars. 6 months later, Emma and I sit on our front porch. The war a memory, but its lessons still fresh. Mommy, Will you tell me about the stars? She asks, her voice carrying the simple wonder of a child who's learned to think her own thoughts again. The house around us still shows traces of its crystal transformation walls that sometimes shimmer with mathematical patterns, a garden where alien flowers grow alongside earth roses, windows that occasionally reflect light in ways that paint pictures in the air. But it's our house now. Chaotic, imperfect, and beautifully human. Which stars do you want to hear about? I ask, watching the night sky where no alien messages travel anymore, just distant suns shining their ancient light across space that belongs to whoever's brave enough to explore it. The ones where other people like us live, Emma says, pointing at constellations that might hold worlds where civilizations are learning to be themselves again. Do you think they're scared like we were? Do you think they chose freedom too? Through our rebuilt communication systems, we've been receiving signals from across the galaxy, any dies, messages from species that broke free from the collection's cosmic museum and are slowly, painfully learning to be individuals again. Each world tells the same story. The difficulty of choosing chaos over order, the challenge of accepting pain alongside joy, the magnificent burden of thinking for yourself. In a universe that doesn't always make sense, some of them are scared. I tell Emma honestly, freedom is harder than most people expect, but fear is what proves you're really alive. Dr. Rodriguez visits most evenings, his role now as director of the Global Recovery Program, helping communities worldwide remember cultural traditions that were optimized out of existence during the integration. His wife Maria works with families like ours, teaching children how to process emotions that the collection had filtered out of their experience. The hardest cases, Maria told me yesterday while reviewing therapy session transcripts, aren't the people who want to remember who they were before. They're the ones who want permission to become someone completely new. Down the street, our neighbors are arguing about what color to paint their house. It's a silly disagreement that serves no practical purpose, but their raised voices carry the slightly discordant harmony that defines human conversation. During the integration, the collection would have resolved their conflict instantly with mathematical precision. Now they get to figure it out themselves, even if it takes all night. Kowalski stops by weekly to document our recovery process for the archives that will help future generations understand what happened when humanity briefly forgot how to be human. Her research shows that most people don't want to return to exactly who they were before the collection arrived. They want to become something new, something that combines what they learned from alien perfection with what they remembered about human chaos. The interesting thing, she explained during our last interview, is that the integration didn't destroy human creativity. It just channeled it in directions that served the collection's purposes. Now that people are free to create for themselves again, we're seeing art and music and literature that no one has ever imagined before. She's right. Emma's school friends write stories about adventures in 11 dimensions, paint pictures that show emotions in mathematical colors, and compose songs that blend human feelings with alien harmonics. They're not trying to recreate the old world or preserve the integrated world. They're building something entirely new. Mom, Emma says as shooting stars streak across the sky, not alien ships but actual meteors burning up in an atmosphere that finally belongs to us alone. Do you think we'll ever go back to space? I think about the ships we're building in orbital shipyards, designed not for escape, but for exploration. Vessels that will carry human crews to make contact with other liberated civilizations, sharing techniques for maintaining independence in a universe full of entities, offering easier alternatives. We're already planning the missions, I tell her. But this time, we go as ourselves, not as exhibits for cosmic museums or specimens for galactic collections, just as humans who want to see what's out there. Emma nods seriously, her expression carrying wisdom beyond her years, the understanding that comes from having your consciousness briefly connected to something infinite, then choosing to return to something beautifully finite. Will you take me with you someday? When you're older, I promise. When you've learned enough about being human to help other species remember what it means to be themselves. Through our window, I can see Rodriguez's family working in their garden under starlight, planting vegetables that grow according to their own chaotic logic rather than mathematical perfection. Their children laugh as they chase fireflies that blink in patterns that please no one but themselves. These are the sounds of a species that looked at perfect happiness and chose imperfect freedom instead. The sounds of consciousness that understands suffering is the price of authenticity, that isolation is the cost of individuality, that being human means accepting both the pain and the responsibility of thinking for yourself. Tomorrow, I return to work at the Space Exploration Recovery Program, helping plan missions to worlds where other species face the same choice we faced. Emma will attend school where children learn to think critically about the difference between solutions that work and solutions that preserve the right to make mistakes. The best part about being human, Emma says sleepily as I carry her inside, is that we get to choose what happens next. She's right. The collection offered us eternal preservation in cosmic amber, where our greatest achievements would be displayed forever for tourists who could never understand what they were really looking at. We chose something harder and more beautiful. The right to keep growing, changing, making mistakes, and becoming something new with each choice we make. The stars shine down on Earth with light that carries no messages except the promise that consciousness, in all its chaotic glory, will continue asking questions that have no easy answers. And in that questioning, that refusal to accept simple solutions to complex existence, humanity has found something more valuable than museum-perfect preservation. We've found the understanding that being human means embracing both the wonder and the responsibility of thinking for yourself in a universe large enough for every kind of consciousness to find its own way home. As I tuck Emma into bed in a house that's both alien and familiar, both scarred and healing, I listen to the night sounds of a world learning to be itself again. Somewhere, a dog barks at shadows that exist only in its own perception. A night shift worker whistles a tune that follows no mathematical principles except the rhythm of a heart that chooses to beat for itself alone. These are the sounds of freedom. Messy, imperfect, and absolutely stubbornly human.